everybody. Today we have a very special guest. This person produces the Eyes Up Here comedy event. In addition, is co-host at the Reserve Association. Please welcome to Comedians Exposed, the wonderful Kate Lawlor. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How are you doing today, Kate?
I'm good. It's a pretty low maintenance day, but I'm just a little under the weather.
Aww.
How are you? How are you, Deana?
I'm doing okay. Do you perform? So when you're not feeling well, does that affect your performing? Do you usually stay away?
I canceled a couple shows last week and I should be hosting tonight, but I was like, I don't want to, normally I'll just power through. And I did at one point last week, but, and I'm vaccinated and everything. I don't think it's COVID, but I just wanted to not be around for a week and a half. But that 2 years ago, I had a really bad cold and I hosted an open mic for the first time with it. And I was smoking weed with everyone afterwards. And I ended up getting pneumonia. And it's just crazy how a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have even cared. I would have been I'll die at an open mic. And now I'm just I have the sniffles. I should stay home.
So what do you think brought that change on?
The global pandemic, I'd say.
Yeah. New perspective on things, right?
Yeah.
How was your pandemic experience overall?
I guess negative, fairly not good, but it was really hard on me in a lot of ways. And I do see how it changed me a lot. I feel in a lot of ways, I'm a lot lazier. But also I feel I have a lower tolerance for things. I just feel I was always so scared, for the past year of going back into lockdown that I didn't want to waste any moments. And so I'll be I'm not gonna overwork myself or do something that makes me miserable. My time is so valuable. I could everything could just disappear at any moment,
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to defend you for 1 second too, because you said that you're lazier now, and I'm I see your Instagram stories. You're not lazy at all. You are, and I think also too, I think everybody out there, we are still in a pandemic, and biologically, our immune systems and everything, our reactions are very heightened. So biologically, we're going through a lot. So it's we have to be kind, I think, with ourselves, because of that whole other layer of stress. It's not like regular life. It's this whole other new added dimension that we've never had before. And like you said yourself, because of COVID, before you were doing things differently, and now you've changed how you live. What about comedy? How has comedy helped you or hurt you? One or the other or both during this time?
Well, I feel first I probably would have had never seen people at all if I wasn't doing comedy, because for past 2 years that's just all there was just outdoor comedy, and it was the only time I had any social interaction. And I think that was I wasn't working, I wasn't in school, I just had comedy for a while, and I definitely would have gone insane without it. I don't know how much. I do feel I grew a lot actually as a comedian over the past couple of years. And then when comedy started opening back up, there was kind of this surge to get back on stage. And then I started producing. I feel it opened up a lot of opportunities for me. So in a weird way, the pandemic was a great thing for my career.
Yeah. So what about, first, before I ask you anything else, I always want to have people do this at the beginning and the end. Can you plug your social media? Where can everybody find you on social media?
Okay. So my Instagram is KLawlz, LAWLZ comedy. And then my Twitter is Kate Lawlor 888. And yeah.
Oh, wonderful. All right. So Kate, so the whole premise of the podcast is about comedy and vulnerability. And I use the jumping off point for like my experience with comedy. Like it took me a really long time to do it and it makes me really uncomfortable. So I always use my basis as like talking with everybody else, you know, kind of like shaping my question. So like first and foremost, I want to know, does performing comedy make you feel uncomfortable?
I mean, yeah. Or it did for a really long time. And like sometimes when I kind of know it's gonna be rough, or if it's like too intimate, I feel a little like, and you can kind of tell in my body language too, like I'll be like more tense, or I just got a random message request that I'm gonna ignore. But where'd you go? Oh, there you go. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think bombing makes me uncomfortable. That's pretty uncomfortable, I would say. But yeah, I guess it depends on the night. I used to get really nervous, even for like a while into it. Like I would shake a lot, or I'd have to like cross my name off the list and I'd have to go down later, or like I couldn't do it sober. And now it's just kind of like, yeah, like rolls off my back.
Yeah.
Mm.
So what about this idea of vulnerability? What is vulnerability, or what does that mean to you, or what are things that make you feel vulnerable?
I don't see, I'm someone who I've been told I wear my heart on my sleeve too much. So I kind of feel like I'm just always vulnerable. Like, like to the point where like I don't even notice it. Like I don't know, like are other people ever not vulnerable? Because I feel like it's just something I never turn off.
Yeah. So you're always willing to like put yourself out there in like all situations.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is
Okay.
like
So
which is not good.
No, I mean, no, is it not good? Why do you think it's not good?
I don't know. I feel like I'm not very like, I feel like other people have like a sense of like self-preservation, and like I kind of lack that, or I don't know.
So what about the alternative then? So let's flip it around. Say you weren't. Would you want to be the opposite of that, as opposed to like how you said you wear your heart on your sleeve? Would you rather be the opposite? And what would be the consequences of that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a balance, but I feel like a lot of people who tell me that like tend to be very like tense and like more like rigid, and I don't know that I want to live that way either. So I don't know. I guess there's probably a happy medium that I need to find, but I feel like that's just part of growing up.
Who do you think is more in comedy? What do you see more of in comedy? People that are wearing their hearts on their sleeves, or more rigid?
Well, I feel like the art is supposed to be that you're wearing your heart on your sleeve, but I feel like also like the area that we're in, like North Jersey, is like there's a lot of men, and I feel like their take is different. Like they don't necessarily bare their souls on stage. They more like to like deflect or like pick other things apart. So, and I feel like those people are more like rigid, you know? So I think that you get all walks of life in comedy, I guess. Yeah. I feel like in like New York City or something, you'll probably hear more like people like talking about like depression or sex or whatever. And I guess that's a form of vulnerability, because those are like intimate like details of your life that you're maybe not supposed to talk about in other forums, but like comedy gives you the outlet to do that. I don't know. I think the fact that I'm vulnerable though does definitely help me in comedy, because I just kind of give no fucks. So I'm just gonna like tell you everything about me on stage, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But
is there ever a time where you can feel that you have shared too much, like you think the audience like, yeah,
I do it all the time.
Give me an example if you don't mind sharing.
I talk about my vagina a lot, and I was and again, like, I don't know, I was at an open mic recently and there was one other woman and like, it was just a bunch of old men and no one was vibing with what I was saying. Like they didn't understand like at all. And I was like, I'm still talking about my vagina right now.
Yeah. Especially too, like the overwhelming ratio of men. It's like, you know, how many times you hear about penises, it's like, you know, it's fair. Like y'all need to hear about vaginas. And
yeah.
I don't know, understand what you mean about the audience clenching up. What about things yourself? What won't you joke about? Because you said you're pretty open. Is there anything that you won't bring up or talk about?
No, not really. No. Like, and that's like, and I feel like I didn't used to be that way. Like there was like, I was like afraid to talk about some things. Now it's just like, I feel like I was like, well, I talked about this, like I might as well just do this too. And it's like, I don't think I have, I feel like all my most shameful like stories or all the most like dark, sensitive parts, especially the dark, sensitive parts of my life are the things that I really want to talk about because like, I don't know, maybe it helps me heal or maybe it helps someone else heal or whatever, but I don't know. I just really have the mindset that anything can be funny. And if it's not, well, I guess we're going to find out, but like.
Yeah. So how do you get through that? So do you just get up there and start talking about something that you want to talk about? Or how do you work through,
I usually have like a general idea. And like sometimes maybe I'll be wrestling with it for a while. I'll be like, this is, or maybe I'll say it in conversation to people like a few times before I like go up and do it. And then I don't know. Or like some jokes I know not to say in certain settings. And then sometimes I'll be like in the middle of the set, I'll just be like, what if I just threw this in here? Like, what's that? And I don't know.
So you said some jokes you know not to say in certain settings.
Yes.
What would be a joke not to say in a setting? What's the joke? What's the setting?
Okay. So I started telling these jokes about my rapists a couple months ago. And it a lot of the time it really doesn't work, but sometimes it does and it works really well. But it's like usually if it's like a room full of comedians or if there's like and it's kind of like a more chill environment or there's like maybe it's like a bar show or something where there's like a few people but the people seem like they're really down, like they really vibe with comedy, like I know I can get away with it. But if I'm at like if I'm like in a club and I'm like being recorded, like I'm not doing that joke. Like I'm not risking like isolating half the audience.
What do you think isolates the audience?
I don't know. See, but that's like with that particular joke or like in general?
Yeah, I guess. Well, let's start with that joke and then we'll talk in general.
I don't know. It's like, and that's like, and then like I started doing this thing where I'm like, some of you are weirdly offended by that for people who aren't my rapists. Like, I don't, like nothing's wrong with laughing at this. Like, I think it's just the topic, or like maybe some people just can't relate to it. Like sometimes I've noticed that women will like chuckle, and I don't know.
Do you think, because I've had the conversations with other comedians, like sometimes, you know, people will just get triggered by a word. And as soon as they hear a word, everyone's just like,
that's true.
You know, shutting down.
That's true. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And like, I don't know, like I'll say, I tell jokes where I say the word retarded and like I'll make fun of my autistic brother and people will be fine. And like sometimes people, but then, and it's not all the time, but sometimes they'll hear the word retarded and they'll be like, oh, well, this is too far. But I'm like, but then my whole point of the bit is I'm like, it's just a word. Like, why is this what upsets you? Like, you're fine with everything else that I've said thus far, but like he's not retarded. it's fine.
Right, exactly. It's like, people are, you know, getting triggered, like, and not hearing out the whole point of what you're trying to convey.
Also, it's like, I don't know, I feel like I don't really punch down. And so like when someone's upset by my comedy, I find that interesting because it's like I'm talking about, my experience with a disabled sibling, or I'm talking about my experience being raped, or my losing my father to cancer. Like this is all like me talk like why are you like tensing up? Like I'm not, like I'm not some like man up here being like I'm gonna go hit my wife later tonight. Like it's not just I'm not just like saying it for like the shock value. It's like it's more me taking like something that I've actually experienced and being like, this is okay. Like we can laugh at this.
It's almost like though, right? Classic projection theory. Like whatever you're saying isn't about you, it's triggering this reaction in someone. So like, so it's like, yeah, they're like, they emote because, you know what I mean? Like they just become emotional and they can't even hear you at that point, and they're just caught up in whatever their trigger is with that, That's the frustrating part I feel about doing comedy. It's like, because you want to do stuff, like you said, that's relevant to you or things that are important to you. And then people kind of get like, all like, meh. You're like, stop it. Let me do what I need to. What is there anything else? What else frustrates you about comedy?
I guess other comedians. That's probably my least favorite part of it.
Particular comedians, particular people, or is there like a genre or descriptor?
I feel like I don't know. I feel like I don't really like the environment, like in the particular like scene that I'm in. Like I usually feel very like odd man out because of like my age and like my gender. But I don't know. There's just a lot of, or maybe I just don't like society. I don't know. I feel like there's just like a lot of sexism in comedy that I experience very often, and I don't know. There's definitely a lot of things I don't like. So many things.
Yeah.
Like, there's I don't like people who like fake the grind, and I don't like people who are constantly talking about other comedians, but then it's also hard not to get sucked into that. There's so much like politics over like stupid things. Like there's so many stupid arguments and everything, and it's just, but it's great.
Yeah. So yes, let's talk about what's great about it. What got you into comedy?
Oh, it was an accident, actually. I went to a college that taught stand-up classes, and theater and comedy was one major, and I had transferred as a theater major, but I was planning on switching to music business, and I got put into a stand-up class because I was a theater major, and I didn't know what it was. It was called like Fundamentals of Comedy. I thought it was like an improv class or like something. Like I had zero idea, and it was like how to do stand-up. And then like second day of class, I like, or like a third, I don't know, I went up, and then that was just it. Like everything else that I ever wanted to do before was just gone, like out the window. Like I'd be in other classes, like studying stuff that like I always thought was like what I wanted to learn and like do with my life, and all I would think about was like, how would I be able to balance this with comedy? Like if this is gonna, like I always felt like I was being pulled away from comedy, like learning other things. And yeah, that was it.
Nice. So again, doing comedy, then what are you hoping to gain from having comedy in your life?
It's just really the only thing that I like love. It's just all I want to do, to be honest with you. Like I want it to be like my livelihood at some point, but it's like ultimately I would like to write for TV, and I would like to do all those like glamorous, like fun things. But even if I'm just, still producing Eyes Up Here, and like I have like some like not terrible day job, then like that'll be fine. Like it's just, it just is my life. Like at this point. Yeah.
What does it bring to your life?
I don't know. It's like, I feel like when I do comedy, I feel like this like element of like confidence and purpose that like I didn't feel like for so long. And I was so lost for like the majority of my like like 20s. I mean, I don't know, I'm only 24, but like my like 19 to like 21 or to now. And I feel like if I hadn't had something that like, and I mean, yeah, there have been months where like I like didn't want to do it, or like I was quitting, or I want to focus on something else. But it was just like, I don't know. It really gave me just like this like sense of like where I want to be going, and I don't know, it gave me some type of structure, and I don't know. It's just I really can't explain it. Like it's just such like a natural part of myself now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, huh? So let's go back then to, again, vulnerability. So it's because it sounds like, just things are just like meshing, because, you're really willing to be vulnerable. And then like, you have this deep innate sense of purpose with doing comedy. So what about, do you ever find yourself talking about like political stuff with your comedy? Or is it more strictly for your personal life and personal experiences?
I guess my personal life and personal experiences. Like, I don't know. I've never been very good at doing political comedy. And so it's just not something that like I want to do. I don't know. I guess I talk a lot about sex in my comedy, but I feel like when you're like a 24-year-old woman, like that's all your friends are talking about. That's like all like everyone's doing. And it's more, I don't know, but it's not just like sex. It's more like how sex is viewed for women in society and how we're like approached by men. And it's more, I like to like make fun of that, like our ideas about sex. And I feel like that's almost political, like, because like they're just like, there's something about being liberated enough as a woman to just be like, I'm going to talk about like all these unladylike things, and that's my right to do that and stuff. And I mean, yes, I talk about getting face fucked as a political statement.
It's for me, like I find it, because again, you shared your age at 24. Like I was a lot older when I started doing comedy, and the first time I did comedy, I took a class. And I remember like, because I was like a single lady on the prowl, like, having a good time. And I was talking about some of my experiences, and I remember the teacher sharing with me, like, not to do that. Yeah, and it really like just set me on. I think it took me like years again to try comedy after that, but it was like, because his point was like, oh, well, that's how people are going to see you and blah, blah, blah. And it was like,
there is truth in that, because I heard people say that to me, or about how like, oh, this is how you make yourself seem, so this is how people will treat you and stuff. And that's that's definitely true, but that's more a reflection on them for not understanding that like this is a part of everyone's life, this is a part of my life, and I choose to be open and be funny about it. Like this, I'm telling jokes, guys. Like they are jokes.
Sometimes the irony gets lost sometimes, and that's very frustrating.
Yes.
Because, oh my God. So let's go back to, you had said sometimes, because you said something specific that also I felt resonated with me. I also feel like the odd man out, because I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum, where I'm like older, and a woman. So it's like, it's like, why am I not home with my children at soccer practice kind of vibe? So you said you feel like the odd man out sometimes. Why? Is there anything particularly identifiable that kind of makes you feel that way?
People have always like really talked down to me. And like, I feel like I don't know, like when I started doing stand-up when I was like 19, but I did it like at school, and I got on shows like at Broadway. I didn't know there was like an open mic scene like in Jersey. And then when I started coming around, I was 21. So I was like new to like, and I was younger, like even the younger guys, I was like younger then. And so like I was very like wide-eyed and very easy to like kind of be like, oh, like I'm gonna take you under my wing, and I'm gonna tell you like this is actually the X, Y, and Z, or like, but like you're good, but like I'm better than you, like I'm always gonna be. Like I've had multiple guys say that to me, and guys will always be like, oh, you're getting better, or, oh, you're this, or like you're very funny for a woman and stuff, like, Yeah. And it's interesting because like, yes, I was new to the open mic scene, but I already had like a solid 5 minutes. I had done like shows like in front of like big audiences. Like I was like I was fairly like funnier and like had a better stage presence than a lot of the guys. And still, like even now, I think now that like I produce, like a lot of the guys suck up to me now. So the dynamics changed a little bit, but they're still like, I don't know. I've just always felt, and I don't know, and just also like, I don't know, like I'm like very like I'm a girl, like I'm a like feminine girl, and I'm sweet, and I'm like nice to people, and then like boys, especially in comedy, tend to just be like, oh, like we're all assholes, like come on, don't be so sensitive, you're a comic, and I'm like, no, that's just not who I am. Like I don't know, and like I don't like how much like we're just supposed to normalize like bad behavior as we're all just being comics. And I feel like I get told that to me a lot. And it's like, you need to just be one of us if you want to be good at this stuff. Like, just outrageous things that I've had said to me.
There's a lot of shit that goes on,
yes.
In comedy. And it's like everything, the umbrella for the sake of a joke. Like, oh, it's a joke. It's a joke. And it's like, is it though? Like,
exactly.
Yeah, it gets to be really toxic, and that could be really hard. How do you deal with that?
I don't know. Like, I feel like lately I've been growing up a lot, and because when there was a point where like it really did affect me when people would say things like that, and I would let people like shrink me or make me not want to do it or like gaslight me, and now it's more like I just have learned to just not buy into it as much and to just focus on like myself and my craft and not really, I mean, I guess you like someone's actually giving me genuine feedback, like that's like I would never like write someone off, but like I don't really need to care what other people have to say, and I guess that's just part of like life. It's just something you got to learn and adapt to as you go. And I don't know, I guess another thing that like I've learned recently is like I don't need to be friends with everybody, and that was like hard. Like for so long, like I've just always been somebody like I want everyone to like me, and now I'm like, like we can just be coworkers, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's a lot easier, because then it's just like, all right, clear lines. And I feel like sometimes in comedy people don't have that.
No, they really don't, and that's something I've just like recently I've just kind of been like, this isn't good, like where everyone's too intertangled, and it gets very messy.
It gets hard too, especially because like you said, like a lot of it's about our craft. Like every single one of us got into this because there's something we want personally out of it that we want to create from this. So I feel like sometimes it gets hard when you have these relationships or communities, especially too because sometimes people don't get along and not everybody operates under the umbrella that it's like a business. But so what's funny to you? What are things that are funny to you?
I don't know, I have a very dumb sense of humor, actually. Like I crack up at puns. I love puns. I love bad jokes. And I love sitcoms. Like I wanna, like I took a class in writing for prime time, and like I feel like one of my biggest inspirations was Golden Girls growing up. Like I would stay up all night and I would be like writing like my stories or like whatever, and like I'd have that like on in the background, and it turned out that my professor in college works on Golden Girls, and I was like, no way. So like it's interesting that like my stand-up is so dark, but I love just like simple, like pure-hearted, like dumb jokes, you know?
So but you said you would describe your stand-up as dark.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting. Why what makes it dark?
Well, I feel like it's just mostly that my life has been very dark. And so like I just like maybe it's just an unhealthy coping mechanism of mine to just make terrible jokes about it all the time. But I don't know. I talk about abuse. I talk about like dead parents, like just dark things, man.
Just go around the gamut. Yeah.
Everything I can talk about, I do.
Yeah. And then how do you find, again, like in doing this, what does it bring personally for you? When you talk about that dark stuff that you've gone through?
I don't know. I just know that I love attention. And when I have a really good set, especially if it's about something that's like hard to talk about, and I know like other people are like as fucked up as me, and I'm like, yeah, I got it. But also like when I talk about dark stuff and it goes bad, that really hurts. I'm like, wow, these people have the lowest opinion of me now. Complete strangers don't care for me.
So remembering your worst bomb, what was it?
I feel like I know it. Like, I don't know, because my worst bomb definitely wasn't at a show. It was definitely at an open mic, and I could tell you like where it was. And I was talking about my dead father. And it was like I was the last one to go up, and I was very drunk. I had trouble getting up, and I blacked out. Like I don't remember the set, but I know that I stood up for it for 3.5 minutes, and I did not get a single laugh. And other people like confirmed to me afterwards, like that was very bad. that was not good. So I guess that one. But
yeah, how do you find drinking impacts your performance?
No.
Do you like to drink before you go up?
Yeah.
I
usually have a drink in hand like while I'm up, and it's like I don't know, I have a really good memory, and I like people even tell me like, yeah, like you do well like drunk, but like sometimes like, yes, I guess if it's a night where like I'm not really on and I get really fucked up, I've bombed. But that's not usually like I'm usually never like that at like a show or something that I like really care about. Smoking beforehand definitely fucks me up. Like I'm so like my pacing's off, everything. But I don't really smoke, so it doesn't happen very often. But
what 3 words would you use to describe your comedy? I
guess raunchy, feminist. I guess dark. Okay, yeah, dark, raunchy, feminist. That's me for sure.
I dig it. That's pretty cool. That sounds like it could also be a very good punk band name.
Oh, yes. Yes. I feel like I love punk music because a lot of their lyrics are also very funny most of the time.
Yeah.
Like Blink-182 lyrics for sure. Like I love just like twisted, funny like songs.
It's definitely fun, like especially like thinking about, and I've talked about so many comics, like how, like yourself, like you'll talk about personal stuff and it's so healing. It's so cathartic. You know what I mean? It's you're able to reclaim a narrative, and it's like,
exactly.
Because especially like when you think about things that we go through, like life is full of trauma. It's like that's the human experience is you're going to experience. So it's like it's going to be in our head, it's going to be in our existence. So it's like, why not kind of like reshape it and you know? But it's hard to do. It's really hard. Like I always feel like people who are not laughing at me, those are the faces I remember. Like I could go through every single person burned in my head.
I had one really bad bomb at Lawlor Social Club, and there's like the faces of like a couple comedians who I really respect just staring at me as I bombed. And I've never forgot, like it's never left my mind.
Yes, it's so intense. It burns a hole in your brain. Where do you look when you're on stage? Who do you look at people, or what do you look at?
I'll look down, like I don't know. I'll usually like to bounce around, like make eye contact with a few people. If I don't feel good though, like I'll just look down like the whole time. I'll be like, yep, I'm having a great time, you guys. I guess it all depends on my energy and like the energy of the room in the moment. But I don't know. I mostly like to be like having conversations with like the room, but
yeah. Just kind of like, I'm here talking to you guys, telling you about the crazy stuff that goes on.
I told a joke about face fucking at a show recently, and it was a very like brightly lit room, and it was very small actually, and this older woman was just looking at me like, and I was like, oh, do you not know what face fucking is? And she was like, and then I had this like face-to-face conversation as I explained what it was. So it's like full like white hair, like, and she was like, oh.
Oh wow. Oh my goodness.
Like, I'm gonna go home and try that.
There you go. That's so funny. Oh, what's your favorite thing to talk about?
I guess it's sex. Like, no. Like, I don't want to just say, like, make it sound like I'm just talking about sex, but it's like whenever there's so many places to go. I guess it's my low self-esteem. Like, I guess that's like the thing I talk about the most, but that's so connected to sex. Like, there's so many, I joke about men a lot. And when I do that, I'm usually talking about sex. Like, or I'll talk about my dad, and my daddy issues are connected to sex. Like, it branches off into like every other aspect of your life, you know?
It's like a Venn diagram all centered on sex.
Yes, it's all about sex.
Well, I think it's very popular to talk about. People like to hear about it.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a big part of all of our lives.
Right, exactly. Like, who's getting it, who's not getting it, who's trying to get it. It's like, oh my goodness. Hey, Kate. So I want you to do me a favor. Can you plug again one more time your social media? And if you come in shows and stuff, let everybody know.
Oh, okay. Yes. So I am producing a new show. It is called Dead Parents Society. It is going to be at Tierney's in Montclair on next Thursday. So the 14th, October 14th. It's also my mom's birthday. So come buy her a drink. And then the Eyes Up Here show is having a benefit show for victims of domestic abuse on October 23rd at the Reserve Association in Elmwood Park. And my Instagram is KLawls Comedy, and my Twitter handle is KateLawlor888. Thank you.
Thank you. That's so awesome. So, Kate, you said your mom, her birthday, right? You're doing the Tierney show.
Yeah.
Because you do jokes about your mama.
I
right?
sure do.
How does just out of curiosity, how does your mom find you doing jokes about her?
Some of them she really likes. But I have this one. So I over lockdown, I walked in on my mom masturbating, and then I started doing comedy again, and I was like, yeah, I don't think you want to hear my new stuff. And then like when I walked in on masturbating, like we nothing, like we never acknowledged it, never talked about it, like nothing. And then like months later, she's like, do you tell people you walked in on me masturbating? And I was like, of course I do. If you didn't want me to say anything, you had to tell me. And then she was like, how dare you? And I'm like, well, like now I've done the joke in front of her a million times, but the show at Tierney's that's on her birthday, she actually connected me to the person who like got me like the show. So she was like, you're not telling the mom masturbation joke. She's like, you can tell all these other, she like told me like the jokes about me that are good that people like, and like everyone loves that one. But I can't tell that one. She's a good sport for the most part.
That's so fun. Well, I just want to say thank you so much. It's been so great talking with you today.
Thank you for having me, Deana.
Thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to see you again, my dear.
You too. I love you. Also, our hair is very similar, I noticed. But...
I like the color of your hair right now.
Thank you. I just dyed it back today. Thanks.
Oh, it looks so good. I love it.
Thank you.
You color yourself?
Yeah, I'm a control freak.
It looks beautiful. Well, I hope to see you soon, love.
I hope so too.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.